on the Amazon website, they had a lot of Q&A and a lot of videos. And one of the questions they got was, can you use your own mouthpiece? And they said, oh, absolutely. It's a regular receiver.
Yeah, regular receiver. He actually thought the plastic mouthpiece wasn't a bad mouthpiece, but it wasn't his size mouthpiece. But he played it for a little while with the plastic one, and it sounded very good. When he switched to his mouthpiece, it sounded even better. Now, he said that with this mini trumpet, mini pocket trumpet, he was kind of holding it with the palms of his hands, and that made the intonation worse. So he said to hold it with your finger through the loop and here like this, the way his hand is holding it here, and then the sound was better. And so I gave you the link, and you know, if I had an extra $481, I think I'd buy one just because it's so cute. But he said he really liked it. It has the modern, he calls them water valves. We call them spit valves over here, but I think in England you're being more proper and calling them water valves.
Yeah, it's not as crude.
Well, and most of that's coming out is condensation, not necessarily spit. So the condensation valve would be a good name for it, but spit valve's kind of fun when you play trumpet.
Oh yeah, I play my horn on a cold day. It just pours out.
Yeah, and so and even sometimes with the horns, the bugles we used to play, even if you used the spit valve, it didn't work to get all it out. You had to take the horn and spin it towards you, and then it would come out of the bell, the condensation. Yeah, so it was kind of a neat little technique. Now, he said the valves were really well done right out of the case. Didn't even have to oil them. They play well. They don't make a lot of noise. And he said it was very sturdy. And he even played it way, way high and way, way low. And it sounded very good. And so he was saying, this is an excellent trumpet. And he wasn't used to playing a pocket trumpet and holding it. But he said, once I get used to it. And then he actually took it on a gig and played it on a gig. And it sounded very, very nice. Now, the one that I bought for $125 does not sound as nice. And it's not very sturdy. It actually has fallen apart in the joints, and I've had to weld it, and it looks really ugly now because I did the soldering on the joints. Question, Lon.
Is it Indian or Chinese?
This one's Taiwanese.
Yours.
And Ed sent me an email back saying that this company, the Carroll Brass, has a really good reputation.
No, I mean your horn.
Mine was it was Chinese.
Yeah.
But early Chinese. And the Indian horns, which my flugelhorn was, I would never buy an Indian horn. In fact, some of the people that have been reviewing horns, they buy an Indian horn, and when they open it up, it stinks so bad, the backing material, that he actually put a gas mask on, and he refused to use the mouthpiece that came with it. And for me, I would have taken it and washed it out completely before playing it, but they actually played it out of the case and said it just smelled horrible. And I've seen a couple of reviews like that where people had Indian horns that just smelled horrible, reeking out of the box, which is real interesting.
Taiwan technology is so good now compared to what it was, say, 40 years ago or 50 years ago. It's really high level. And they also make Jupiter, which I've seen get better and better. And now I see professional players using Jupiter euphoniums. I wouldn't have seen that 15, 20 years ago.
No, and also the Yamaha horns, a lot of them are made in China now.
In China, yeah, but I'm talking about the Taiwan companies.
Oh, the Taiwan, yeah.
And I really have to inspect them to make sure they do it right. Otherwise, they're going to cut corners. But Yamaha has good teams, and we have some Chinese euphoniums and trumpets now and tubas that are very, very well made.
China's actually doing a better job. Tom Conte has a Chinese trumpet, and it actually looks pretty good and plays pretty well, and it was inexpensive. It was like $150.
Yeah.
This one, though, sounds really, really good. And it's very small if you wanted to take it on a trip. And that's probably why I would have one. Probably where I would take my pocket trumpet, because if it gets beat up, I don't care. If I bought one of these, I probably care about it. It has this plastic mouthpiece, though it sounded pretty good. So the other thing that I did is I sent you the improvising thing that I had sent you before.
Yeah.
And that is, I'm going to stop this share and I'll go and share again, share and share alike, share screen. And I need to go to my PDF, which is open. And it was here. And so I watched a video from Musical U on Saturday. They invited us to come. It's their chance to upsell and sell more classes to you. But also the information was very good. They were talking about playing music and learning. And one of their things was they had these three visions. And one of them was a simple shift in your thinking. If you can always think about music as seeing it from a beginner's point of view, then you're going to learn a little easier. We get these preconceived conceptions. I gave you a link to that. I don't know how long that link is up. It's temporary. It's about an hour and a half long, but you can skip the last half hour because that's when they're selling to you. But the information in the first hour I thought was very good. And Christopher is a very good speaker and very personable and kind of fun to listen to. And so he was talking about, shifting to thinking of a beginner's mindset. And then the second point he was talking about was realizing that you are creative. You do have these abilities, even though you may doubt yourselves. Once you can get that shift in your mind that you do have this creativity, then it's going to be easier to learn. And the last one he called a judo flip, which was a weird term, but basically you have a lot of nagging doubts sometimes about your abilities. And the one thing he was talking about is he was learning to play bass, and the guy who was teaching him would just show him a riff and not really give him a lesson, and they would play the riffs together. And he'd go, now change the riff. Instead of playing the note twice, play it 3 times, and now change this and move up one or move down one. And so they would do that for a whole hour. And he said he really learned because he was having such fun doing it. So with this improvising, they were talking about with the improvising, and I need to hit my arrow to go down, to start simple. And he really said that these constraints on your improvising actually help you to learn a lot faster. And he was talking about if you learn to improvise, it's not really learning to improvise. You want to improvise to learn. Because he says if you're improvising, you actually learn 5 to 10 times faster. So this improvising, the first day he had us do, and we were doing these improvising, he says to improvise on one note. And I think he just picked a middle C. And what can you do with one note? He says, no, you can't go up the octave or down the octave, but you can do different rhythms. You can hold it out longer. You can attack it differently. You can double tongue it. You can triple tongue it. And he didn't say that because he doesn't play trumpet. He plays guitar and bass, but you can certainly do a lot. And he says through these constraints and being creative, you actually learn much faster. And then the second day they add another note. And then they talked about changing the way you played things, and he said that you could do loud and soft. And so it's kind of a contradiction where you have these constraints that keep you constrained, but he says they actually help you to learn because you're not nervous. If someone just said, all right, improvise, play something, you go, well, what should I do? And you might play a scale, or you might play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, or something you've memorized. But with these kind of constraints, and you practice them, and then gradually build up. Then when you go to improvise, you've already got these tools: loud, soft, dynamics, articulation, how you begin and end the note, durations, short notes, long notes, in between notes, development, making up a short rhythm pattern, or a motif. Is this motif? M-O-T-I-F? Motif. Motif. And repeat it many times. You can change the tempo, play faster or slower. And he says to do these with your standard exercises you're doing on your trumpet. If you're playing a scale, just don't play the scale as a set scale. You can play it with the metronome to practice that. But then pick up the tempo, change the tempo, double tongue it, triple tongue it, tongue it all with a ka note. Do it louder and then softer. One time as you're going up, get louder. One time as you're going up, get softer. And if you do this while you're practicing the stuff you regularly practice, you're actually going to learn better because you're having more fun. You're doing something creative, and the more creative can be with and I thought this concept was really neat. It excites me. And so the more creative you can be with it, the more you remember it, the more fun you're having, instead of just playing na 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 na, I'm bored, you know. So do something fun with it. I've been doing da 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 da. So tonguing, slurring, da 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 da. You know, some things like that. And if you can change that rhythm, form, duration, softness, loudness, you're still practicing the same duration, but since you're doing something creative, you're learning more. So I recommend that with your exercises, that get a little creative with it. Instead of just ending on long notes are always good, but do a long note, but then do quarter notes, then do eighth notes, do 16th notes on the same note. And then the next time do something slightly different, do triplets. And I love triplets. I don't know why I don't love triplets. The timpani drummers in our drum corps used to sing their part on the bus, and they'd be going triplet, 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 and they would even put their ear down like they're tuning it, and then turn the crank, even though they didn't have the timpani. And with the timpani players, you have to turn the crank and then you tap the timpani so you can hear it. Oh, that's the right note. Some of them have a little note guide on it, but it's not always accurate. And so I always thought that was funny. Triplet, triplet. And in rock and roll, they a lot of times they play triplet, 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 triplet. And I love that slower triplet. It has a neat feel. You're getting going and then you're, slow down, going and slow down. So even just doing that with your exercises can make it more fun, make it more interesting to do when you're doing that sort of thing. So I recommend that we go through this improvising, which I sent you. And doesn't matter if you play baritone, clarinet, flute, do this. And why don't we do improvise number one? You've got it. And I think they're playing just 5-day plan, just 10 or 15 minutes a day. And if you do it for the C, then maybe on one of your scales, practice just changing it up a little bit. And I think it's going to make our practice a little more fun. I've been playing Minnie the Moocher on line. Let me go and go to here. Boom. And if I go to, I put these on Trumpet by Doug. So here is him with the pocket trumpet. It's Trump. If you go to Facebook and you type Trumpet by Doug, you can find it. You just click on my little smiling face there with my Clark Kent jacket on. And yeah, this is a Letterman's jacket from Smallville. It has a crow on the back and has an S on the front, but not the Superman S, the Letterman S. So people ask me, what's a crow? It's Smallville. So Smallville crows. And this is the link to that lecture. And again, I don't know how long this is going to stay up. They say it's up temporarily, and it's Christopher Sutton talking about his English accent, so obviously he knows what he's talking about. and you can go through that. And so also I put a link here. I think this one was.
Hey, it's Alric, and as you can see, I'm working late
Just
here
a second,
in the office. I
this.
just put the finishing touches.
It's exercise of the week time.
This was the old exercise we did last time, but the link is here. So if you need to listen to him, you can. Let me close this. Boom. We'll get off of it. And so Trumpet by Doug. When you're there, if you give me a like, I don't know how many likes I have to have before I can start making money. But if your site is popular enough, sometimes people let you do advertising and they pay you. So
I've been hitting likes on a lot of the things I listen to now for that reason. Yeah,
it boosts the posts, and you actually have to go in to YouTube and set up a monetized thing, which my one friend did. He had a video out where he went to Lindbergh Field and he videotaped the airplanes landing, but it was on a perfect blue sky. Oh. And so he dropped the blue out and he put all the airplanes landing at the same time. So they're like, inches apart. And so he had like 40 or 50. So he filmed for the whole day. And with the blue sky, you can drop it out and put clouds or whatever behind it. But he lined them all up and he posted that, and it was very cool. And he had monetized his site. But once you monetize it, you actually have to register it, and he didn't register it. And he figured for the 2 days that he didn't have it registered, he got so many hits because I think they showed it on one of the late night shows like David Letterman or something. Oh, wow. And he said for the 2 days that it wasn't monetized, he thought he lost about $5,000.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So yeah, because everybody liked it and he got so many hits from that. So yeah, his name's Cy. He worked at City College. So yeah, so say like, I don't know if it's going to help me. I'm not getting a lot of traffic. I haven't promoted it in other places, which I may eventually do that. But I'm putting in these exercises and the different rhythms. Here's 7/4. Here's him talking about some days don't go according to plan. And then Dave Brubeck for, I think that was the 7/8 time, and the different time signatures. And I'm putting most of his stuff here. Now, I was also thinking that maybe, since I don't know what this video is, I didn't do this one. Okay, skip the ads. I was thinking that since we're always going here, if you felt like buying a mug from him or promoting him in that way. I've been promoting him by paying for the scales 50 cents for a download, which I think is appropriate. And I'm thinking maybe if I buy a mug, that might be a good thing. And they have some pretty ones. I love the purple one. Let me scoot this over here and click on the purple. I think the purple one looks good with the gold airflow music. But if you don't want an airflow music one, I can put anything you want on a mug at Society 6, and you can buy it for about $14. I could put a picture of a euphonium. I could put a picture of a trumpet. In fact, I think I have one with a trumpet, Doug Mooney at Society 6. But at any rate, so that's what's going on. Any questions for today?
Oh, that looks good.
No, it's very entertaining, very, very interesting. I noticed in that pocket trumpet thing that he had the oil that came with it, and then he had an ultra pure black label. If it's ultra pure, why does it need a label? Black label. Chinese are very, very status conscious. They're especially with trademarks. Like President Xi wanted to ban the sale of Nike in China because he was angry with the Nike company. They sold about 50,000 shoes in 2 days in China. They're so status conscious, they wanted to get them before they stopped selling
before
them.
They got away.
Yeah.
Funny. So I'll just go ahead.
I just said Black Label. Yeah.
Yeah. So Minnie the Moocher, I found these, and it's for B flat trumpet, but you can also find things if it's for saxophone, tenor sax, or I'm trying to think, was it tenor sax? They also work. And this one I've been practicing. We have to get by here, and then I have to turn skip the ads. And so the one thing I've been practicing with this one, I need to move, stop. Move this, I have to move all this stuff over. Your pictures are on top of the music. But here I go. So just doing something different with the trills and using the plunger mute, I think is really fun. I'll eventually record this and put the background music in, and I think I'll get my trombone out and play it also.
Wow.
My plunger mute, did I give you plunger mutes?
I could punch your moves.
Okay, got this at the dollar store. I only used it 5 times in the toilet, and it works fine. You have to cut a hole in it here. I used a big drill and then a X-Acto to clean it out, but it works pretty well. My problem with it is it's just a little larger and it gets caught on the horn when I try to move it. So I kind of hold it off and move it like that, and that way it doesn't get caught. I think if I found one that was just slightly smaller, it'd be better. And they have different size plungers. So that's what I've been practicing. But what's that?
Dirty jazz. Dirty jazz.
Dirty jazz, yeah. And Ed did a lesson where this guy here was talking about different techniques where you're holding the valve down halfway, where you can, go, or, and he was doing it with 1 or 2 or 3, depending upon the effect he was trying to do. And then he was talking about doing, not lip trills, it was shakes. And it's almost like vibrato, but a little more. He says you do it more with your lips. But you can actually shake the horn. I had a trumpet instructor tell me that if you touched your finger to the horn, it actually changed the pitch. And he would go like this, and he'd go. And I would try it, and it wouldn't do that. He was doing it with his lips. He was just being a bit of a jerk, but I liked him. So anything you can do like that to make things a little more creative for you is going to be better. And Kathy, I do really like playing with Ed. I've got my music, and I've got to get it all organized, which I will.
Oh, I like that too.
Yeah, and I'm glad Tom is there. Tom is such an old, not an old person, but an old friend. I've known him for so many years, and he really knows music very, very well.
Yeah, he does.
He's just getting used to the trumpet. He was a little upset because he's not progressing as well. And I just told him, you get your plateaus and you just have to work through them, and don't get worried about it. Just keep trying.
I think he's doing great.
Oh, I think he's improved immensely. And I went and practiced with him one time. He has his whole back room all set up with the music stands and the lights and the trumpets and the mutes and all that. So he's just a great guy. So I think it's a good addition for the.
Oh yeah. Did he play saxophone before?
He's played saxophone for years. He's very good at saxophone. He also plays clarinet, though it took him a while to get used to it because clarinet's completely different fingering than saxophone, which is not necessarily completely, but some of the fingerings are different.
Oh,
So it takes a while to get used to. I thought that was weird, but I guess they've been developed at different times.
well, the mouthpiece is different. The with the saxophone you don't bite it. With the clarinet you have to.
Mhm.
Anyway, he's a good guy. Yeah, I admire him.
Yeah, he's fun. One thing he did, and just to tell you how nice he is to me, is when he was moving out of his house and he was moving into a duplex, because he's older and he wants not to take care of the yard, he had me come over and had this whole shed of garden tools. And so
Wow.
he goes, Doug, here's a shovel. How much? I go, oh, $2. He goes, oh, okay. And he goes, here's a rake. How much? $2. And then he goes, here's a lawnmower, electric lawnmower. How much? I go, oh, $20. And so I go through the whole thing. And at the end, he adds it up and goes, okay, that's $58. And he opens his wallet and he gives me $58 and says, thank you for taking it away.
Oh my God.
So if I hadn't have been so cheap, I would have made a lot more money.
Yeah, you
And so
didn't know.
after practice, he always takes me to lunch and he knows that I'm not making as much money. And he did well because he saved his money and got CDs and invested. And so he's not hurting for money. He always buys me lunch, but he always calls me a cheap bastard.
But he has a good heart.
Oh, I always laugh.
Who is this now? Who are you talking about?
Tom Conte has been joining our ensemble, and he plays in 3 or 4 different groups. He was playing in a Dixieland group and played a few things. He used to be the director of the Saints band at St. Augustine, and he's worked with me at Mount Miguel and at Madison High School and a few other places. But he's originally a drummer. He went to West Point as a drummer and didn't graduate because his last year he injured his leg and couldn't perform, but was a DCI judge for Drum Corps International and just really knows his stuff. But he wanted to learn cornet and trumpet instead of saxophone. I think the saxophone is big and he's getting older. He doesn't want to hang on to it or carry it, and the cornet's much smaller. He might like this mini trumpet. So anyway. All right, everybody. Thank you very much.
All right, excellent. I had a lot of fun today.
I thought this was I was trying to do something different. I mean, I could rehash Brian Davis's A through Z, but trying to do some different things to just make it more interesting. That's what the one lesson was about. So, all right, I'm going to say goodbye.
Thank you.
Yeah, and with this music, like Minnie the Moocher, there's a lot of different things. I was doing the theme from Casablanca, Play It Again, whatever that is.
Play it again, yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of different music there. If you look for tenor sax, I think it's tenor sax, but you can find music that you can play along to the background. It's kind of played by the numbers. It helps you with the rhythms. But this one I'm getting a little more dirty with, and I think it's fun.
As time goes by.
As time goes by, that's the one. I actually did a video with that and played it and posted it. I'll show you next time. All right, so I'm going to say stop the share, and I'm going to go end the video. Thank you very much for being here. We'll see you Wednesday, Kathy, and Lon, we'll see you next Monday.
You bet.
Okay.